158 million people who cast their vote in 2020. Do you think, Cleo Pascal, that number is going to exceed this time around more than those number of people, more than those voters who came out and decided to cast their ballot? Is that going to then carry forward to 158 million, increasing to 160 million or even more?
No, but what's interesting about the early voting numbers is that voters tend to follow the direction of the leaders. And in this case, as Mr. Calamel pointed out, the Republicans actually made an effort to try to get voters out early. Traditionally, Republican voters vote on election day, but the leadership has made a point of saying get out early. It's in the context of having concerns about what might happen on election day itself. So you're seeing increasing numbers, but actually you're seeing more Republicans, and you're seeing not as many of the Democrat voters, especially in the swing states, that you would see coming out. So it's not just the numbers, but it's who is voting has changed substantially since the last time around. And so as a result, it's hard to say what the final number will be, because we don't know whether that's just leeching off of an election day vote or whether this actually is new voters, especially on the Republican side. Although it looks like these may be low propensity voters that are getting out to the polls for the first time, maybe in 4 election cycles.
Cleo, would you like to respond? Is the concern shown by Donald Trump legitimate?
So Meg, as you know, I'm a Canadian, and I voted in my school board elections 2 days ago, and I had to have voter ID, and it was a paper ballot, and I had to show up in person. There was one other day to do it, and not sort of a month of, or kind of election season. So and as you know, how the Indian elections are run meticulously. I mean, if the votes can be counted in India and it can be run in a country of substantially larger democracy than both the U.S., obviously, and Canada, then I think it could be done in a different way in the U.S. However, I would probably caution against a centralized electoral system. As you know, each of the 50 states has their own systems, and the U.S. is a unique country. It's set up to be this kind of, the states have a lot of power, and that. I think that's one of the strengths of the system. You can have some of the states go off and do their own thing, and not have it all controlled out of a centralized system, which opens it up to vulnerabilities if you have a certain sort of government and power. But this is something obviously for the American people to decide. It's just perplexing as a non-American to see some of the voting mechanisms that are going on in some of the states.
Let's also talk about Iowa, which has been a traditional state that the Republicans, Donald Trump, had won last time around as well. He has raised protest, Cleo, after this poll projection was made by a pollster a couple of days ago, giving that state to Kamala Harris, to the Democrats. Again, this individual who has predicted this poll has been accurately predicting elections repeatedly in the past presidential polls as well. So how confident would you be when these poll projections are released?
So I think that's the Ann Seltzer poll that you're talking about. And when you look into the crosstabs, which is where you can see who she's ascribed certain voting to and what numbers are and what her percentage of the electorate is, it's a very odd poll. So yes, she has had a very good track record. There's been some oddness in one or two of her other polls. This one, it's not, if you look into the details of who she polled, it doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. She seems to have oversampled, for example, and used too much of the data weighted in favor of older white women who tend to be a group that votes substantially for Harris. And it is very much of an outlier poll. So we'll see. I mean, she could be a genius and better than everybody else, and she's going to prove everybody else wrong. Or it could be an outlier, and even the best pollsters will eventually come up with an outlier, come out with something that is just off. So it's an odd poll, but we'll see. I think that the one really to watch, and which we might get the results quite quickly on, is Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro, the governor, wants to, I think, be presidential candidate in 4 years for the Democrat Party. So I think he'll probably try to do things as relatively clean. We may get results quite quickly there, and that'll certainly give an indication of the rest of the way things go.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.